Okay, and the last one that I want to talk about here is an example of what you're going to see throughout the presentation today. Pretty much all of the slides will look like this. You can see what the title of the release feature is, followed by the release number and month. So this means that you have to be on this release number for your JCM or GEM in order to have access to the new feature. Besides that, it also shows where you could find a feature in the software, and we've also provided the description of the release itself. And you can find a photo to show you what the new feature looks like. With that said, thank you so much again, and I'm going to pass it over to Victoria, who's going to start off with what's new in Jonas Club Management.
Thanks, Relita. All right, we're gonna get started here. I'm gonna take you through some of the new options that we've added in Q3. So we're gonna get started right away with some of the new menus that we added into Jonas in Q3. So first up, we have a new general ledger interface that was added for the Flowcast third-party interface. So this program is used for exporting your trial balance details into the Flowcast database from Jonas. So this can be run as a Windows service. It can produce results at whatever frequency your club desires. So if you are a Flowcast customer and would like more info on purchasing this module, or you just want some more information, you can contact our sales team and they can guide you through. All right, so we've also added additionally to that a new accounts payable direct deposit interface option. This is for the Banco BHD Leon. Okay, and in Q3, we also completed adding the Access Setup Program quick links in all of your modules. So throughout the system, you're now going to find that you can quickly access your setup programs on the fly. This is the sales reporting categories shown here in the slide. So just a quick note, you do actually need to have menu access to the setup programs to be able to access it from these quick links. If you don't have menu access, you won't see these options here. So previously, if you wanted to get back to the setup screens, you did need to exit your current screen, go to a different menu, complete your setups, and then come back. So these changes should help prevent you from needing to exit the screen in the middle of a task and potentially losing data. So it'll make setting these things up a little more quick. All right, let's head through to accounts payable. We're going to have a look at the new features that were added there in Q3. Okay, so first up, we added a couple of new positive pay formats in accounts payable. So for those of you that don't know, positive pay does let you generate files when you print checks to send off to your bank. So generally, this file is going to include the supplier, the check amount, and the check number, and then any other information that your bank specifically requires. This is all part of fraud prevention measures. So we have this positive pay module available as an add-on for AP. So we've added this quarter 2 new positive pay formats, one for Encore Bank and then one for Interest Bank, and these are both for US banks. Okay, and the next feature we've added in is we have made some changes to the Edit Unpaid Invoice Date of Record program. So this program does allow you to change the date of record on invoices that have not yet been paid, right? This way you don't need to reverse and then completely re-enter them. So just as a quick note, if you don't have access to this program, we did add it in version 2021. So if you don't see it on your Jonas menus, talk to your administrator about adding it in, as it can save you quite a bit of time. So the changes we made to the program in Q3 is we added 2 new features. So firstly, right, you can now edit the invoice date and the due date in addition to the date of record in this screen, recognizing that these 3 dates often go together, right? And secondly, we have now added a find and replace feature where you can do this a little faster. So let me go ahead and show you how this works. Right, so we're going to go into AP processing, right? Then our edit unpaid invoice date of record. Right, I set up a batch earlier today, right? And I made a mistake with the date of record. I posted it on 10/17, should have been 10/01. So I'm going to go ahead and indicate that up here, right? And then you enter either the audit number, the invoice number, or the supplier that you want to adjust. I want to do my whole batch, so I'm going to do audit number. Right, once you've made your selections, hit proceed, right? And it'll take you through to the next screen. Right, so we do have now the invoice date and the due date available as columns you can edit, and you can do them individually if you want by clicking on the calendar option and selecting a new date. Right, however, what we've done is we've added a find and replace feature. So if you right click on the date and then click find and replace, right? It's going to take you to a new screen, and you're going to, up here, indicate what you want to find. So I'm going to say 1017, and what you want to replace it with. Right? So I'm going to find all instances of October 17th. I want to replace them with October 1st. I'm going to click Find All to locate them. Right? And then I'm going to click Replace Highlighted Cells, those ones that are highlighted in blue. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to deselect invoice date. I want to change due date too. Right? So you're going to type in what you want to find, what you want to replace it with, find, and then you can replace the highlighted cells. All right. So this is pretty useful if you have a very large batch of invoices. All right. Helps you do this process pretty quickly. And then finally, when you're ready, preview and post. All right. So previously you were able to edit the invoice date and the due date for your invoices, but you did have to do them individually through edit invoice information. So this should really help save you some time. Okay, so our next release note is a change we made to the month-end check register. So specifically for our US clients, we've now added the option to add the social security number or employer ID number to the export option of the report. This is from the 1099 info section on the supplier file page 2. Right, so this saves you some time if you were needing this before for running multiple reports. Okay, and our final addition to accounts payable is we have, for UK clubs, added a new direct deposit format, the BACS Standard 18. So just as an important note, if you are thinking about switching to this one, you do have to use it with a specific UK remittance form, GJP13 UK. Let's head through to administration. We did make a couple changes for our Data Mart module. So let me take you through those. So Data Mart is a reporting tool that exports some Jonas data into a SQL table. So in Q3, we did improve this functionality for the local SQL Data Mart type. We added options here to customize which companies, partitions, and tables you are sending over to Data Mart. These are available on the right-hand side. You can see that on the slide. Right. So further to that, when you click on those options, these are the screens that you end up seeing, right? And in order to customize, you would uncheck or check options, right, to customize what you're sending over. All right, we're going to head through to Banquet and Catering. We did make a few changes here, and we're going to start off with changes that we made to the Banquet and Catering financial report. So we did make 2 changes in Q3, and the first of these is that we have added an option to include selected options in your report headers of the report. So previously, the report wouldn't list your selections, but only reference that there were selected items. So this should help you track easier what rooms, statuses, groups, etc. you are including in the report if you do use the selected options instead of all, for example. Right, so just as a quick note, we will show you as many as we can in the report header, but there are character limits. So if there's more than we can show, you will see ellipses or 3 dots, right, to indicate there were more than we can show. And the second change we made to the Banquet and Catering financial report is we added a detail by room option. So you can do this option by selecting the in detail by room in the rooms section of the report parameters. That's just over on the right hand of the slide. So previously, when a booking did include multiple rooms, the room revenues were combined into one reported value for all rooms on the booking. So now if you check that flag, it will break out the revenue by room, right? It helps you just provide more accurate reporting if you do track by room. Okay, and the last change we made to Banquet and Catering is in the Banquet and Catering forms. So those of you that use the Jonas standard user configurable invoice and CEO are now going to be able to change the order of your taxes and service charge columns. So when you go ahead and click on the invoice or CEO configuration screens, you're going to see that there is a column order option here, and we're using the numbers 1 through 5. So line 1 is charges, line 5 is the total amount. Those 2 cannot be moved, but you can reorder lines 2, 3, and 4, which are your taxes and service charge columns. So for those clubs that prefer to display, for example, service charges before taxes, because maybe service charges are taxable, right? You can now do that by reordering the numbers. On your forms, it will print out in numerical order. Okay, so we're going to head through to club management. We'll see what changes have been made there. Right, and first we're going to have a look at the system checkout. So for those of you who are not familiar, right, the system checkout is a report that you can run that shows you imbalances between the member accounts and the accounts receivable general ledger. Right, so this report shows you your out of balances by date and then by audit number, and it does show you the audit numbers that are causing you the issue. So what we've done here is we've just added a note so you can take suggested next steps for what is causing the out of balance. This just gives you an additional tool where you can further drill down and research and then take the appropriate corrective measures. Okay, the next change we made here is to the export AR transactions report. So this report is an export that shows you all transactions posted to members for a specified period of time. It also includes additional options like the option to include payments, dues only, include cash transactions, etc. So we made a change to the JS Jonas standard format. We've now added membership type as a column in the report. Again, just to save you the time of needing to run multiple reports if membership type is something you did need. Okay, so for clients who weren't aware, right, the document management advanced module does allow you to import your own documents into Jonas. So in Q3, we did add an additional layer to this by allowing users to bulk import your documents from a file. Right, so on the slide here, you can see you would click on the import option in the bottom left corner in order to import in bulk. So just a couple notes on this. First things first, it's not available for transactional document types, only the following user-created document types. So it's available for banquet bookings, fixed asset items, hotel reservations, member documents, payroll and timekeeper employee documents, AP supplier documents, and general ledger documents. So let me go ahead and show you how this works. So we're going to head into Document Management Viewer, right? And I'm going to import member documents using my member document type. So I'm going to click to add here. Select my document type, and then on the bottom left, I'm going to pick my import option. So right here along the top, we see the document, which is going to be the path and file name where my document I want to upload is located. And then I've got the attributes associated with my document type, which you can see just in the screen behind. I've got company and member number. Right, so I'm going to end up laying out my file exactly the way that I see it here based on my attributes for my document type. So depending on what document type you're using, even if you are using the same document type for member documents, you may have different attributes depending on what your club needs. So you will need to make sure that your file is laid out with your attributes. All right, so here is my path and file name in column 1, my company in column 2, and my member number in column 3. So I'm going to go ahead and import my file. Right, it's going to go ahead and load that up, and you're going to see the documents listed here. Right, so it'll show you all the documents listed in your file. If there are any issues with one of your lines, you will see them down here in exceptions, and they won't be uploaded. Quick note, the actual format of the file itself can be a tab delimited text file or a CSV, both are acceptable. Right, when you're ready to import, go ahead and click import. Okay, and it'll load those to the member. I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like on one of my members. Right, I'm going to click on their Documents tab and select the type that I just uploaded. I'm going to search, and there are my documents here. Oh, there were 2 from earlier this morning, so now I've got 4 copies. Right, that's a pretty quick way to import a lot of documents all at once to your members, for example. All right, so that's importing into doc management. Okay, another further change to document management is now we are allowing an option to export documents. So this allows you to save a copy of the document to a specific location on your computer or your network. The options to email and print are still available to you. This is in addition to those. Right, and to export, you right-click on the document or documents that you want to export, right-click, and then pick export here. It'll open up a prompt, and you're going to pick where you want to save it on your computer. Right, the original document is still going to be available in Jonas. You can save as many copies as you like. All right, so previously, if you wanted to save the documents to your computer, you did need to do them one at a time. So hopefully this should help you save some clicks and some time. Okay, so let's head into changes we made to the member file here. So if you were not already aware, Jonas has a feature that allows clubs to email members their point of sale chits instead of printing them out, or in addition to printing them out. So we've now added an additional layer to this functionality. So similarly now to how the statement, tea time, payment emails work, there are now flags in the additional addresses screen in the member file, right, to indicate which member addresses should receive these communications, the emailed POS chits. So you would indicate that here in their additional addresses. You're going to check the flags for all of the emails that the member wishes to receive those to, right? Whether it be one or all of their addresses. Right. Further to that, in the point of sale setup for email chit codes, you do need to indicate to use the member file POS chit settings that you've done on the previous screen. Right, so this way POS operators won't be prompted for an email when closing a chit with this option on. Right, so it just avoids them needing to ask the member if they want the chit emailed. It will just now go to their preferred addresses automatically because you've already indicated in their setup which addresses it should go to. Okay, and one last addition for club management here. This is for the club front desk module. Right, so we've now added an interface for the Salto Access System. This is a third-party program. So this is a purchasable module that integrates with the club front desk, right? And so it connects these two, the club front desk and the Salto Access System, right? So it reads the data from an SQL table and then imports the member activity into Jonas. So this allows you to report on member activity from Salto in the club front desk module. All right, so if you'd like more information on this interface, you can contact our sales team. All right, and let's head through to hotel management, and we're going to have Greg present the rest of it to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Victoria. All right, so I'm going to take it over from here. I'll talk about the next couple modules, but I just wanted to take one quick second to remind everybody that we really do appreciate your communication with us for all of these new features that we're doing. Every 2 weeks, we release an upgrade to our system with all the new features and fixes and enhancements, and a lot of those new features come from our communications with you all. So if there is anything that you're looking to see in the program, any changes that you're looking for us to make, please do let us know. The more communication, the better. But with that being said, we'll talk about hotel here first. Just one change here in the hotel module. Under the reservation assumptions page, you can now sort of set what you want the default phone number to be for your members. So when a member books a room at your club, you can make it so that their regular phone number is the standard that you'd use, which is typically the home number. But you can also make it so that their cell phone number is the default, or you can use that third option down there, which is if we have their cell phone number in Jonas, we'll use that. But if we don't, then it'll just go back to their regular home phone number. Okay, and that's it for the hotel side for this quarter at least. Next up is payroll. And this change is done on both the US and Canadian Payroll side, both of those modules. And this is for when you print off your personnel sheets. Typically, it just sort of prints everything for your personnel, but now if you go under that details button, you can pick and choose what you want to print out, which is of course very important because when you print out payroll information, there's a lot of sensitive topics there. So if you don't want to print off your social insurance numbers, your pay rates, you can now pick and choose what you want to include in that printout. Next up is point of sale. So there's a few new features here on the point of sale side. The first one has to do with the gratuity report. So we've always had a gratuity report in Jonas, and you all can run this at any point in time. And on that report, we show you what the gratuities are for the day, as well as service charges if you do both or one or the other. But now we've made it so that you can include all the sales as well for that day. And whether it's the gross sales or the net sales, that's completely up to you, but you absolutely can include sales now on the same report. In regard to credit card processing, for those of you who don't know, you can process credit cards directly through Jonas. And in order to do so, you have to sort of integrate with a third-party credit card processing company. And if you're interested in that at all, you can see all the different credit card processing companies that we interface with in this list here. So for this particular feature, this one only really applies to Elevon, but these are all the companies we interface with: Shift4, Credit Line. You can see all of them in that list. And so Elevon just released the ability to do a pay at table option. There's a new device that they have. And so just like it says here in this list, this allows your point of sale staff to use a mobile pin pad device, and they can find the chit from the Jonas point of sale, and your member can pay that chit off right at the table through that device. So really handy, really efficient and quick, and much better for your members. And there's just a few sort of prerequisites here, a few sort of notes that you should be aware of if you're planning on getting this device. Most of these are fairly minor, things like if you need to void something out, that still has to be done from a regular point of sale terminal, not from the actual credit card machine. So a few things to note down there. But for those of you, if you are already set up with Shift4 instead of Elevon, we actually do already have a pay at table device in Jonas for Shift4. That one's called SkyTab. So whether you're set up with Shift4 or Elevon, we do have pay at table devices for both of those credit card processing companies. In regards to covers in the point of sale, a lot of clubs that I talk to, they do a lot of reports based on cover counts, and, average amount per cover, things like that. And normally what I recommend at the end of every day is that food and beverage managers should go into this edit covers program and just double check the amount of covers that you've had for the day, just in case one of your employees make a typo and they type in 11 covers when it should have really just been one cover. Of course, that would throw off your reports big time. So not only can you use this program now in the point of sale to edit your covers every day, but when you're editing those covers, you can now select certain shifts that you want to see. So if you just want to see the covers for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you can now select those individual shifts. So definitely something to note if you at your club, if you do a lot of cover reporting, jot that one down. It's something you should double check every day. And that brings us into mobile point of sale, which is another one of those things where I find a lot of people don't really know that we have this in Jonas yet. It's a fairly new module, but you absolutely can use your point of sale on a tablet or on a phone. We have an app that you can download now for mobile point of sale, which is great if your servers can sort of walk around the club and order things for your members all around the club. This is a perfect module for that. Or even if you have on-course ordering, if you're a golf course and you want to ring members up on the course, you can use this module too. But the actual change that we made to it here is that you can now void items. And when I say that you can void items, I mean that you can void items that have not been sent to the kitchen. You can void items that have been sent to the kitchen, or items that don't get sent to the kitchen at all. You can still void those out too. So voiding is absolutely an option now. And for any of these features that you see here, folks, if you're curious about it or if you have more questions for us, please let us know in that questions box on your screen. We're here to help you all today. So any sort of questions you have, just let us know. Next up is tea time. So for all of the golf clubs out there, there's a couple new features. First one is to do with caddies. So if any of you out there have a caddy program at your club, we've always had the ability to build caddies into the system right here through caddy types and individual caddies. But the actual feature that we've made here is that the caddy system is now connected to the Jonas Tea Time web services. And this is sort of a two-part slide here. So what does that mean that we've connected it to the web services? What that means for you is that when you assign a caddy to a particular member or to a particular group, just like it says up here, we now have the ability to assign a caddy to a tea time booking, and this function will send a pro shop notification of the caddy assignments to each player. So again, not only can you assign caddies, but now the member can be notified to let them know that this is going to be your caddy for the day. And they know that before they even get to the golf course, which is great. Okay, speaking of communications with your members and tea times, we've also added this one here where, we've always had this notifications button on the tee sheet where you can send messages or notifications to your members, but we've added another sort of pre-made notification type here for reminders. So at any point in time, if you did want to send a reminder to your members of their upcoming tea times, that is now sort of built into the program, and you can send that just a couple seconds. So the actual message that you send to your members is up to you. You can add attachments. You can pick and choose what tee times you send this out to, or what members you send it out to. But you can definitely send tee time reminders now. Okay. This next feature, it's actually very similar to the caddy assignments that I was just talking about. But since you can assign caddies to members, you can also assign golf carts to members. And so whenever you flag a member as taking a golf cart, there's now this assigned section over here. And so you can assign individual golf cart numbers to people, and you can start tracking which golf cart did that member take out. And the improvement that we've made to this part of the program is that you can now toggle between your active and inactive golf carts. So I know at a lot of golf clubs, the members put the golf carts through the ringer, and they don't treat them the nicest. And so if the member ever, if you ever need to do a repair on a golf cart, you can easily just deactivate that, take that out of your rotation, and now you can see all your active versus inactivated golf carts. Okay, and that brings us into Timekeeper. So all of you out there that where your staff clock in and out through Jonas, you would be using this Timekeeper module. And one of the improvements that we've made here is that when you're updating your Timekeeper to the payroll side of things in Jonas, so you're updating those clock in and out times, sending it over to payroll, now we give you the option to decide what you want to send to payroll. So you can pick and choose certain departments, you can pick and choose certain staff, and you don't have to send everything over to payroll all at once. So by all means, you can do department by department for payroll. Okay. The other thing we have in Timekeeper is there's a security section over here. Now we've always had this security section. The change that we've made here is that if you ever decide to hit the delete button there, it used to just get rid of all of these security protocols right away. Now we bring up an extra little message to say, are you sure you want to delete that? Which is a great thing. But the reason why I included this slide is because I find a lot of people don't know about the original feature that we have for security there. So if that's a big issue for your club in terms of restricting people to what they should have access to, this is something that you can do if you haven't seen this before. You can pick and choose who at your club can view pay rates, who has managerial overrides, who cannot edit pay rates. You can set that in the system. Okay, and that brings us to activity management, and I'm going to pass this over to Rob Lameda.
We are good. So I'm going to take us through what we've done in activity management within the third quarter of this year, and we're going to start off with class scheduling. So we made a couple changes to the minimum and maximum advanced booking restrictions. So we actually added the ability to configure a minimum days in advance, so you can create a window of registration from the maximum days in advance to the minimum days in advance. But we also kind of tweaked the way the feature for days in advance was configurable altogether. So previously it was just a number of days or hours. Now it's a number of days, not before a particular time, and then a minimum number of days in terms of a number of days and a time not after. So it allows you to create a really discrete window. I know we had some feedback that if we set it to 48 hours, there might be another class that was taking place at that time. So the window would open while people were taking previous class at their class. So now you can set it to a number of days at a particular time, so people don't have that. They're not forced to try and register for the next instance while they're in a particular instance of a class. So these are settings that apply to the web only. So people in the back office will be able to go into class scheduling and still register immediately before the class. They're not subject to this restriction. This is for members booking online. So if you're not aware, we actually do offer an online class scheduling module in Clubhouse Online, which is integrated to your class scheduling. We also added a member status column within the registrants grid of the class scheduling registration screen. So the scheduling detail screen, as it's called, it's where you're going to enter registrations in the back office. We added a new column to the grid down at the bottom where it shows all the registrants and their payment status, and it now shows the member status for the members registered. Within court booking, we made a change to an error message that's displayed when a given player cannot play at a given time online. So previously it mentioned something about no accompaniment rule, and you may not even have accompaniment rules of the club. And that just happened to be the last check after we checked every other way to allow the member to play. However, we've modified that to indicate that either the members reached a bookings limit, so they can play at that time typically, but they've booked the maximum for that day, week, month, or year, or they don't have an accompaniment rule which allows them to play at that time. So just a little more clear because it covers both scenarios within which a member who is typically eligible to play but cannot play because they've infringed on their bookings limit. We also made a pretty significant change in terms of the confirmations that are sent out from court booking to make them responsive. The responsiveness of it means that whether I'm viewing this on a desktop computer, a mobile handheld device, or a tablet, the message will work equally well. And what it'll do is prevent members from having to pinch and zoom to view the details of the message, or alternatively open up a PDF that's attached to it and pinch and zoom to see that. This becomes especially important in scenarios where weather becomes a factor and you may be canceling and rebooking times on behalf of members because rain has prevented them from playing that morning, but you're moving them to another day, or you're moving to another time on that same day when the rain will have subsided. And instead of them having to scroll through multiple emails, open attachments, or pinch and zoom to see what the latest details are, they can just read them on their device. So with that, what I'd like to do is take us through one of the forms and sort of show you how much easier this is to work with. So I'm just going to bring up my court confirmation form. So what we did was we created this responsive email designer, and you can convert any of your forms into it if you're running, I think it's 22.8.2 or later for court booking. We also introduced this in dining reservations probably in February of this year. So same basic idea. You get the form, you can change this down from designer to responsive email designer. And when you click on the designer, it's going to bring up a screen that looks like this. So mine is configured. I've added an image. So you can add an image to this image URL section. I'm just going to show the section header so you can see them. This is an editable section. So when you click into it, it's going to allow you to paste in a URL. Typically what I recommend is just go to your website, wherever your logo is, right click on it, copy that image location or URL, depending on what your browser displays, and then you can just paste that value in here. It needs to be an image that's on the web because people are going to be opening this on a variety of email applications, some web-based, some not. However, if it is an image that is hosted on the web somewhere, it will display much more effectively across all email client applications. So whether it's Outlook or Gmail or Hotmail or Outlook.com, it'll work equally well with a web-safe image. So you can edit this title section, put in a message to indicate what the scenario is. This is my confirmation form, so mine says your booking is confirmed. You have an opening statement section which you can edit. And for any of these sections, you'll see on the left, there's this available phrases. This is content that was in the originating form that you had. So if you want to take this content and put it anywhere, you can just drop it into a section like I just did there and modify. So if you have existing information you want to drop in, you can just drag it from here and put it into the sections of the form. There is one section of the form, this body data section, which you cannot edit. This is the booking detail that's going to be automatically put in based on when the booking was made, or for when the booking was made rather. There are some elements like the instructor here which may not appear if the booking does not have an instructor. Otherwise, every booking has a court on which it's booked, every booking has a start and end time, every booking has a confirmation number, and every booking will have players. And finally, the closing statement section, which is, the call to action should they have any questions or concerns. You want to give them the contact info typically within there, and then members will receive it. So when you're sending out these confirmations, the message is going to look something like this. The logo is specific to my Gracelands Club, but all the other information is configurable and will be similar to what you see. This will be identical in all cases except for the names of the players that are therein. You can see there's my closing statement section and then my contact information as I recommended. So this is kind of what it looks like, and it doesn't matter, like I said, where you view this, it'll work equally well. The text will reflow accordingly based off the form factor of the device on which it's being read. So it's a nice improvement, not only for the people receiving the messages, but even for you guys designing the form. The form designer is very easy to use and should be no trouble assimilating it. We also introduced a new report called the Activity Type Court Type Utilization by Period report. So we already had an Activity Type Court Type Utilization report. This one provides a little bit of a different output. It's not one of those typical printable reports. It's an Excel file within which you'll have potentially multiple worksheets and multiple data sets within those worksheets. So you can see where it's located here. This came out in version 22.9.1, which was the first release of September this year. But when you click on this, you're going to be brought to a configuration screen, which provides you with the following options. So which of your activity types or support types, and then which of the court types within them. And then you can specify which days a week you want to report on, whether or not you want to include revenue, and specify a reporting period. So this one's an important one. That's kind of what's new to this, whether the reporting period is going to be daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. And that'll be the sort of way in which we aggregate the data. So if it's a daily report, we're going to show you utilization data for every day within the date range of the report. If it's weekly, we're going to aggregate that into weeks, monthly the same, and so on and so forth. The second thing that's kind of new to this report is the ability to filter by time of day. So now you can always filter by time of day. It would give you the ability to add one date range. This allows you to add multiple time ranges, and those time ranges don't need to be mutually exclusive. So there could be overlap. You see how I heard 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., as well as 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So the ranges can be discrete, they can be overlapping, doesn't matter, it's up to you, depends on what you want to report on. The most common scenario obviously is prime versus off prime. And many times in clubs that I've worked with, the prime period has multiple segments within a given day. So you may want to capture those multiple segments in separate time ranges within a given day. When you output the report, it comes out as this sort of massive worksheet in Excel with potentially multiple worksheets within it. One workbook, many worksheets, and each worksheet will represent a court type that you've selected in the report. And then each sheet, so for indoor hardcourt, is going to have various data sets based off of the time ranges you've selected. So this first one, they're all covering January 1st to September 6th, but each represents a different time range within that day. And you can see the utilization data is broken down by court, class, appointment, event, and blocks. And this is really dependent on which modules you have with us and whether or not those modules are also using the court. So if you're, have tennis lessons available and they're utilizing courts, you can see the utilization related to that. Or if you're hosting classes or clinics on your courts, and booking time, again, same idea, and the same goes for events. So this allows you to take that data out. You don't necessarily have a printable report you can hand someone, but this allows you to do further analysis on the data that you export. So whatever way you want to slice and dice the data, you have the raw data with which to do it. Moving along to dining reservations, we added a new setting to allow you to use the turn rate to determine the reservation end time when the reservation is closed. So what we saw was a number of clubs seating reservations through dining and then not necessarily closing that chit on the same day. So perhaps the next morning, someone's going through and closing out all the open chits. And what would happen is the end time of those reservations would get set to 11:59 on the previous day. Well, in and of itself, it doesn't cause much of a problem. However, what would happen was if you were going to try to edit subsequent reservations on that same table for that previous night, it would throw an error indicating that you had concurrent reservations because that first reservation was closed inaccurately at 11:59:59. So when you enable this flag, what'll happen is if the reservation took place at 7 p.m. and the turn rate was an hour and a half, even if you close that reservation in point of sale the next day at noon, the end date of that reservation would be set to the start time plus the turn rate, which in this example would be 8:30. So it would be an accurate close time, and it would allow those subsequent reservations on those tables to be modified without receiving an error. Moving along to event management, we added the dining preferences into the client info section of the event register detail screen when you're booking events. So if you wanted to see a member's dining preferences, that information is now brought over. There's quite a bit of overlap between dining and events, so it makes sense to have those preferences within the registrant screen of the event management module.